So welcome back. This is part 3 of our video on instinct and genes. And in this part, I want to talk about human instincts. So I'm going to flip over to my PowerPoint slide. All right. I guess I'll move to where we're located here. I think we're right here. Okay. So there are really many interesting instincts in humans to study. We talked about a few of them early on in this lecture. Things like a fear of heights or darkness or open spaces that, a lot of people have phobias that are very consistent. We have fears of snakes, fear of spiders. What are some of the others? A fear of open space or a fear of enclosed spaces. These are fears that are, we think, instinctive. We think. The question really is fear instinctive? Is it stereotyped? Is it ritualized? Is it innate? Is it determined by or controlled by some specific neural circuitry in our brains, right? Is there a fear module in our brains that automatically is activated in the presence of fear triggering stimuli, right? It seems that from an evolutionary perspective, it would be very, very useful to have an innate response to dangerous situations, venomous snakes, heights, open spaces, big predators. The question is, do we? Well, a lot of researchers have looked into this, and the researcher named Oman and Minica have done a lot of work on fear behavior in humans and have developed what they call the evolved fear module. They believe that there is a fear module in our brain that is automatically activated when a fearful or a fear-inducing stimulus appears in our environment. And they said that the fear module is a behavioral, a mental, and a neural system that helps us solve problems associated with dangerous situations. It helps us respond quickly to a dangerous situation. And that is, and has been, evolutionarily adaptive over our history. They said, okay, let's think about the components of this fear module. So we've got a bunch of components here, and then we'll talk about some of the evidences. They said, all right, the fear module is automatically activated by specific fear-relevant stimuli. Things like snakes, spiders, heights, darkness, open spaces. Those are the kinds of things that might automatically activate this fear module. One other thing they've discovered is that fear behavior is very hard to control by cognitive means once it's activated. So once your fear of snake phobia is activated, it's hard to control. It's hard to cognitively reason through that, oh, that's just a garter snake. It's not venomous. It's not going to hurt you. I noticed this particularly when we studied jumping spiders, kind of big, hairy-looking spiders in my animal behavior class. We were working with them, and some people had a very strong fear reaction to the spiders. And, I would tell them, if this spider is likely not going to do anything to you. If it bites you, it will feel like a mosquito bite. That's about what it hurts like. So it's not dangerous or deadly or scary in that sense. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. They were still scared of it. All right? It's hard to control by cognitive means, even though they knew it wasn't going to, really hurt them. There is dedicated neural circuitry centered in the amygdala for this fear module, and the amygdala seems to be connected to or receive input from a whole variety of areas of the brain feeding into this region of the amygdala. And this is well mapped And the amygdala in this particular region is activated when a person sees fear-relevant stimuli. When you see a snake, that part of the amygdala lights up. It gets active. And here's something that's also kind of interesting about the fear module. It has a little bit to do with learning, and we're going to kind of come back to that in the next couple of weeks. But people are predisposed, not predisposed, sorry, spelling error there, are predisposed to learn about fear-relevant stimuli. In other words, it's easier for them to learn about, or to learn about, or to learn a phobia for, I should say, or to learn to fear a snake than it is to learn to fear, say, a flower, if you will. Okay? So there's this sort of prepared learning. It's easier to learn to fear something that is dangerous than to fear something that isn't typically dangerous. We are prepared to learn that. And that's kind of an interesting thing that we'll talk about later when we focus on more on learning. Okay, so what are some of the evidences for this model, if you will? There's abundant evidence in both non-human and human primates for a fear module. Here are just a few examples. There are way more examples, but I just wanted to give you a couple of examples. The first one went something like this. Oman did this research with others. Oman presented people with a slideshow, and there would be pictures in the slideshow, and within each picture there could be a snake or a spider or a mushroom or a flower. And as the subjects started this slideshow, they were told, okay, every time you see a mushroom, point it out, you have to click a button. Or every time you see a flower, click a button on your slides. Or every time you see a snake or a spider, click a button. Well, guess what they were better at finding? People were much better and much faster at finding snakes or spiders than they were at finding flowers or mushrooms. And the position on the slide didn't matter. They could find it fast, no matter what. Flowers and mushrooms could be found faster if they were in certain positions, kind of in the middle on the slide. So people are definitely more reactive to a fear-inducing stimulus like a snake or a spider. Okay. Here's another one. Macaques. Macaque are a type of monkeys. They actually, when they're viewing snake pictures, but not other pictures, actually there's neural circuitry that's excited or turned on. So there are specific, and this is where some of that literature on the amygdala comes in, specific neural circuitry that light up when they see a picture of a snake. So it's not showing a behavior, but showing a neural response. Here's another one. Rhesus monkeys. All right. Cook and Minica did this research, and I don't think I have the date on that. Okay. So these guys, they had a series of rhesus monkeys, and these guys were, I think, lab-reared monkeys that hadn't been exposed to snakes or flowers. Okay, and so they were first shown a snake or a flower and were reacting to them. So we're looking at what are called disturbance behaviors. I'm not exactly sure how those were calculated. So this in the pre-trials, they were simply, how did they react to a snake or a flower? And you can see there are kind of two categories here. In the pre-trials, the dark bars represent the toy snake, and the gray is the flower. Well, they reacted more toward the toy snake than they did to the flower in both kind of groups. All right, no surprise with disturbance behaviors. But then they videotaped these monkeys watched videotapes of other monkeys being fearful of either a snake or a flower. Okay, and so some monkeys got to watch the video of another monkey getting scared of a flower, and some watched the video of another monkey getting scared of a snake. And then they again showed these monkeys a toy snake or a flower and asked what do their fearful behaviors look like. So in this first group on the left, these bars on the left, these guys were shown a video of a monkey who is scared of a flower. And you can see that they in fact learned something. right? Their behavior changed from pre to post. They were scared of a flower, a little more scared. They exhibited a slightly more scared behavior. Other monkeys were shown the video of a monkey reacting to a snake, and they learned very quickly and very well, and reacted very strongly to the toy snake the next time they saw it. And this is interesting, that it's easier to learn to fear a snake than it is to fear a flower. These are some of the kinds of things that we're seeing in non-human primates and in human primates, okay? So in both of us, these kinds of easier to learn or predispositions to learn. Kind of an interesting story there. Here's another study that is rather interesting, a little bit more recent, but there are people really interested in studying these fear behaviors. So some researchers in Japan studied 3 Japanese macaques that lived in, I think, like zoo conditions, and were taught a whole series of tasks and knew how to like learn these kinds of tasks. And what they decided to do was they decided to present the monkeys with 9 pictures, a 9-picture array, like shown like B or C here. And in the 9 pictures, there would be 8 pictures of a koala and 1 of a snake, or 8 pictures of a snake and 1 of a koala. And the monkeys were asked to pick out the deviant picture, find the one that doesn't match, right? Which one of these things doesn't belong? Oh, it's the snake, right? They also were asked to do this with spiders. So here is a picture of 8 spiders and 1 koala. They're supposed to find the deviant picture of the koala, all right, as fast as they can. And then they get some sort of food reward for it. Or they were 8 koalas and 1 spider sitting around, okay? What did they find? What do you predict they found? Were they better at finding the snake amongst 8 koalas or the koala amongst 8 snakes? And what about the spider situation? Let's take a look. Okay, these are our 3 monkeys, our Japanese macaques. Shiba, Ume, and Pero. I don't know if those are the right pronunciations. And then we're looking at reaction time in milliseconds. How quickly did they react and find the deviant picture, if you will? And these don't look like big differences, but they are significant. In experiment 1, they were shown the 8 snakes with a koala or 8 koalas with a snake. All right? And the snake target, they were faster at seeing the snake target in experiment 1. You can see the gray bar is lower than the clear bar here for all 3 of these animals. Pero is just fast, period, right? In the second experiment, they showed 8 koalas with 1 spider. The spider was the target, or 8 spiders with 1 koala. The koala was the target. And if you look at Shiba, these results of the last 2 bars here, or Ume, or Pero, they did not react more quickly to the spider target than the koala target. Okay? What does that mean? Well, they seem to have a visual sensitivity for spotting snakes, right? They seem to have evidence of a fear module for spotting snakes, but not so for spotting spiders. The conclusions here are that this particular primate doesn't seem to have it doesn't seem to have a visual sensitivity or ability to spot spiders. And most spiders are not dangerous. Most spiders are not venomous or cannot cause harm to a monkey. Spiders may not be evolutionarily relevant as a threat stimulus for non-human primates. What about humans? How would we do at this study? That's a really good question, and it's one that's worth asking. Maybe humans and non-human primates have evolved differently, and in fact, we do have a visual sensitivity to spiders, but monkeys don't. That could be possible. Right? And is there a genetic component to this that we could find? Wouldn't that be interesting to find like the genetic control of this fear module? How cool would that be? Certainly it would be cool. We don't know if there is some sort of genetic control of this instinct, this instinctive fear that we have for things like snakes and spiders. But we might find out soon. More research is on the way. Okay, and that's it for this video. Thanks so much.